Good evening, my dear friends. I would like to welcome you to a brief talk on the statutory companies. We know in the corporate sector, there are a good number of companies like public sector companies, private sector companies, and joint stock companies having holding and subsidiary companies. Likewise, even in the pre-independent era also, we had chartered companies and statutory companies and the like. In the recent era also, we have developed later in 2000 AD the concept of limited liability partners similar to the companies and also OMCs, one person company or one man companies. Now we will have an introductory talk and the features of the statutory company. A statutory company is one which is formed under an act of parliament or an act passed by any of the state legislature. So it is done with such an enactment. It is called a statutory company or corporation. These statutory corporate bodies are specially formed to perform or carry out any specific work which has got some public importance and for which the corporate body which is instituted requires the extraordinary powers, sanctions, and also the privileges given by either the state legislatures or the parliamentary authority in the form of enactment. So now we are given to understand that this statutory company is established through a special law passed in the legislature or parliament and enacted, and as a result the established body corporate has come to existence. Now any kind of changes required in the said constitution or for making any alterations in such composition, they also require the same authority, maybe a legislative body or the parliament, for making any modifications or changes or any other additions in the form of amendments to the existing enactment. Now let us see the main objective behind incorporation of a statutory company which is made with a special and distinct view to serve the interests of the public at large. If any statutory corporation is to be established and the state government wishes to enter a field of human activity which has traditionally been or will in the normal course be undertaken by the non-official group of persons. Such companies do not use the term at the end of their names, unlike a limited company, wherein the extension of term limited is made mandatory. Let us see the following examples. The Reserve Bank of India, which is the sole authority of the government of India for banking transactions, and it is an apex bank and regulator of currency and banker to the government, and also it has got so many other responsibilities. It is unique function which cannot be performed by anybody else. Similarly, Life Insurance Corporation of India, which is also in the initial stages a special job assigned to an authority. Moreover, the Oil and Natural Gas Commission and also the Indian Airlines and the Air India and the State Bank of India. These are the institutions which are established as statutory corporate bodies. Now, let us consider the characteristics of a statutory company. It must be owned by the state or central governments or with their contributions in the form of share capital, etc. It is specially created by a law which enacted either in the state legislature or in the parliament house. A statutory company is generally having immunity from the parliamentary scrutiny. Moreover, it has the freedom in regard to the personnel. So, with the enactment, a special feature is the so-called body established must be a statutory corporation or otherwise a company. This statutory body will be generally having a distant relation with the either any of the state or state governments or otherwise the central government. While coming to the financial structure and the affairs of the corporate body will be independent in nature. Generally, they will be subjected to undergo the commercial audit. And also, these statutory corporations or companies maximum they are operating on the lines of business principles, excepting a few which are not meant for commercial operations. Now, let us discuss the features one after the another in detail. Now, let us see the first and foremost feature of the state ownership. If we take the example of Reserve Bank of India, it is the apex bank in the banking structure, which is 100% under the control of the regulation and supervision of the government of India. So, before 1935, there were some private partners or state level bodies having their shares in its capital structure. And once the government got independence and after taking some special measures, it is made that all the private shares were disinvested and paid back with all the dues, including premiums and dividends, whatever so, and it is completely made absolute control was clamped by the central government. Now they are absolutely supported financially, and regulation and control is also exercised by the central government. Coming to second point, it is created by a special law enacted either in the House of Parliament or in any of the state legislatures. The special feature which which is attached to the establishment of an institution like this is that they are established with a special law enacted either in the state legislatures or in the parliamentary houses, upper house or Lok Sabha, with clear definition of objects and delegating the powers and the privileges attached therewith. Now, coming to the mode with regard to the management of affairs and also their relationship with the government, it is clearly defining the accountability and other functional relationships of those agencies in this regard. Third feature is that the statutory company so formed will have the immunity from scrutiny by the parliament. It is a very novel feature where in this kind of company which is enjoying the statutory corporate body status and it will be having the immunity from the parliamentary authority with regard to inquiry into its day-to-day activities which are distinct from It's matters of policy. Professor Robson said it has long been recognized that while Parliament has a right to discuss and decide and also determine the major policy with regard to the nationalized industries and also to the day-to-day conduct of their routine business by the corporations of this public importance should be given immunity from the parliamentary inquisition. This is very essential. Coming to the fourth aspect, a statutory company is a body corporate. You see, a statutory company or a corporation is established as a separate institution enjoying the status of a body corporate. Now we can recollect the definition given to a corporate company where it is an artificial person created by law with perpetual succession and legal entity. So it can be sued and also sue others in the court of law. And at the same time, being an artificial person, it can enter into agreements with those parties. And similarly, an artificial person, it can acquire and dispose or sell off the properties it had in its name. And so also the common feature of having a common seal will be present herein so that it enjoys the full status of a body corporate with regard to its establishment. For example, if we take the Oil and Natural Gas Commission, ONGC, which is specially enacted in the parliament. So it is an establishment undertaking the offshore explorations of oil and crude and the like in the oceans, seas, and river beds. So it is having a perpetual succession and also having a common seal. So being an artificial person, it has the right to acquire and hold, or else it can sell off or dispose of its property, and it can also enter into the contracts which shall be given in the said name. Or otherwise, being an artificial person, with regard to court matters, either it can either sue the others or also can be sued in the court of law, because this is the standard formula which will be applicable to all these institutions wherein the so-called corporate body status has been affiliation and accreditation given therewith. The next one is the freedom in respect of the personnel. It means the employees. Here, another feature which is specially enjoyed by the corporate body like a company which is of statutory in nature is the characteristics of the employees being taken on deputation from the All India services or government services. It's if its employees are also not civil servants. Sometimes technical experts will also be taken on those lines of deputation. If they are not civil servants, they will not get the protection of Article 311 of the Constitution of India. Here, the organizations are empowered to regulate their personal policies. Sometimes many of them have adopted or borrowed the principles or the rules governing the similar institutions, either wholly or partly, from the government of India for considering the terms and conditions of services of those employees, and also periodically publish those items in the Gazette for the information of one and all. Coming to the sixth feature, that the statutory companies are enjoying the independent finances, because a major advantage is that in this platform it will enjoy the autonomy of a statutory corporation in its independence with regard to the financial matters, except for the appropriations being made by the legislative or parliamentary bodies, otherwise to provide any capital, or else to make good the losses by covering them in a proper manner. They will be usually adopting an independent financial structure. It will be usually obtain the funds by borrowings from either the government institutions, and especially in some cases from the public through shares and other investments, and through also through the derived revenues from the sale of goods and services, and also sometimes they recycle the existing revenues and push on the day-to-day routine activities of the corporate bodies. Then coming to the commercial audit, except in the case of banks, the financial institutions, and the life insurance company like LIC, these are all one where the chartered accountants are qualified auditors of the company in almost all the corporations, and the audit has been entrusted to the CAG, which means the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. It is the competent authority as far as the auditing and compliance of the rules and other formalities thereon. In simple, a statutory company is ordinarily not subjected to the budget, accounting, and all the audit laws which is generally followed, and the procedure applicable to the government companies. it is somewhat special in nature. Then coming to the business operations of a statutory company. Let us see the principles and the conduct of affairs of these statutory corporate bodies are almost similar to that of a business establishment. In case of some of the corporations, the act itself will specifically mention and lays down in the discharge of the functions of the corporations. Usually, they will be acting as far as on the business lines, but similar provisions exist in institutions where it is operating cargo or transporting the civil aviation in the International Airports Authority and also in the Indian Airlines and Air India and the like. Moreover, we can consider the Pawan Hans, the Helicopter Corporation of India. However, the practical implications which are involved in these institutions will be differing from each other and they are not very clear. But in simple, we can say it is a business like model and it will be generating revenue. But in respect of special institutions like Bharat Petroleum Corporations, BPCL, and Regional Engineering College, Srinagar, the nature of the institution is not on the commercial lines. Here, Regional Engineering College is basically an institution dealing with the academic aspects, and we cannot attach the rule of business like model here, especially in those days when it was established in Srinagar, the conditions were very difficult and the attachment of special provisions in the articles of the Constitution of India with regard to the 370A article, like special status, were also there, and these were considered in the principles in the matter of selection of students of the institutions for seeking admission into various courses. Now, this has been repealed, so it may not be the point for discussion right now. Now, after listening to all the aspects of the statutory companies, now we can summarize the role and the features of a statutory company or a corporate body, with the institution having a separate ownership of the state or central government, and the establishment itself is peculiar with the enactment of the law passed in any of the state legislatures or in the parliament, and at the same time it's also having the immunity from the parliamentary scrutiny in the day-to-day affairs, and these corporate bodies enjoying the freedom in regard to the personnel, having the body corporate features. Sometimes we can see the distinct relationship with the government having independent finances, and it's not depending on the outside agencies for this purpose, and generally adopting the commercial audit with the qualified chartered accountants under the supervision and authority of the CUG, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, and mostly operating on the models of business like institutions. Now, with this, we can have the session being ended. Thank you, one and all.